Okay, so we're going to continue on here. So we want to simplify 2 times the absolute value of x squared plus 1 when x is going to be negative 8. So we're going to do 2 and then negative 8 squared plus 1, right? And it's important here that when I am plugging in this negative 8, I want to make sure that I put it in parentheses. And the reason that the parentheses matter is because these two things, negative 8 squared and negative 8 quantity squared, are saying 2 different things. In this first one, negative 8 squared is just saying that I'm going to do negative 8 times 8. And this one says that I'm going to do negative 8 times negative 8. And I'll quickly show you on the calculator here what happens when we don't put parentheses on and how we're going to get 2 different answers. So for the first one, when we just do negative 8 squared, notice that we get the answer of negative 64. And that's, again, just because the only thing that's being squared here is just that 8. However, the one that we want is the negative 8 in parentheses squared, which is going to give us a positive 64, right? Because here we are actually taking negative 8 times itself again to get negative 8, and we all know that a negative times a negative gives us a positive. So now back to our problem, right? We just talked about that negative 8 quantity squared is going to be 64 plus 1, right? We treat the absolute value as parentheses or a grouping symbol that we have to simplify inside first. So this will be 2 times the absolute value of 65. And remember, when we talk about the absolute value, it is telling us the distance from 0, right? And we know that it always has to be positive. So this is going to turn into 2 times positive 65, which is going to give us 130. All right, now we are going to look at our last example here, right? The square root of 3 squared, a to the 4th b squared, when a is negative 2 and b is 6. So again, we are going to start by plugging in these values for a. And when we do that, we have to make sure that we plug it in with parentheses. And we have 6 squared. So the first thing we're going to do is deal with our exponents. So 3 squared gives us 9. Negative 2 to the 4th gives us positive 16. And then 6 squared gives us 36. Right now what we can do here is, because they're all underneath the square root, we can take the square root of each one of these numbers individually and then multiply it out. So the square root of 9 is going to give us 3. The square root of 16 is going to give us 4. And the square root of 36 is going to give us 6. And when we multiply all those together, we end up getting 72. So thank you for taking the time to watch these videos. Now that we are done, you may move on to the check for understanding, and please do that until you get a 5 out of 5. After you get a 5 out of 5, you can go on to get more math practice, and then you will have a homework assignment tonight, which is 1.4n. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys again tomorrow. I hope you have a good day, and I hope you were able to follow along with today's lesson.